At this point, we have the model, which is pretty much ready for us to export out whatever we need. What we're going to do first is we're going to export out the color map. So the color map here is done using poly painting like we discussed. And the way we do this is you can do it again through, this is the same with a displacement map. You can do this under texture. You can export out from here, but this does not support multiple UDIMs, which we are using. So the way we do this is we go under C plugin and we do multimap exporter. And here you simply just enable texture from poly painting. And you can also enable ambient occlusion here. Ambient occlusion can be nice to get out, just so you can play with this a bit in Nuke later on, or Fusion, Photoshop, or whatever you prefer. I'm not going to leave this on, because I only want texturing from poly painting. But play with ambient occlusion and play with cavity, because you can get some pretty interesting results from this. So the default settings here are fine. By fine, I mean there are no settings. This is the only button you have, because there are no settings on how to interpret the poly painting. It will simply just export out the poly painting the way it is. As with displacement map, we have to enable subtools. We have to enable merge maps. And just set this to, we can set this to 4K, but 2K is probably sufficient in our case, because this is very blurry. These maps are very blurry. There's nothing fancy going on at all. This is like half an hour paint job. So normally I would stick to 4K or even 8K for production assets, but for this 2K is absolutely enough. Set the map border to 16, same with the displacement map. And then we go to, let's see here, file names, and just make sure this is set to UDIM. Again, this doesn't matter if this is set to texture map. This is a texture map, so this is going to have TM as a suffix. We're going to rename this anyway at the end, so this doesn't matter at all. So then now we just create the maps. Just a note here as well that we painted only one eye, and that's because this eye here is identical. So the way we do this, the way we transfer this over here is very brute force. We simply just take the layer here, or we simply just take the color map here, and we just take it in Photoshop, and we mirror it over horizontally, and then we save it out. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So we just hit create all maps once our settings are fine. If there are hidden polys here, it will warn you about that. Just hit show all and everything's going to be shown. And now we can just input where we want to go. And there we go. So depending on the complexity of your scene, this will take more time or less time. This is a fairly simple scene, so this took about a minute to do. So let's check out the maps now. So while we're doing this, I'm just going to open up Photoshop. So what we see here now is we have the maps here, and the naming is awful. This is what we've been talking about before as well. I don't want this naming at all, and you can't control this. If you're doing separate subtools, you will get the subtool name here. I haven't found a single way of avoiding this. So what I'll do is I'll rename this to Col. You can call it Col, Diffuse, or whatever you prefer, as long as it's consistent and it makes sense. Don't select everything like I just did. Just rename one here. And there you go. Make sure you have the UDIM tag or the UDIM number selected as well. And we go through this really briefly in a Nuke video, and just showing why we name it like this. Also in the UDIM video as well. So just to be clear on this, the advantage is we can load in this as an image sequence in something like Nuke. If this is really messy, like it used to be, it's really hard to do batch operations on all the maps in one go. Let's just look at our scene here now. So this is our scene in Modo. This is our UV mapped scene. And let's just check out our maps here. So 1006 has absolutely nothing going on for it. 1005, however, has this. So what we could do, we could simply just copy this over, and then just flip it horizontally by going to image, adjustment. No, it's not. It's under, where is it? is under, sorry, image rotation, and flip canvas horizontally. So now this is going to match our UV layout here. So you see let's just bring this up so you can see it here. So you see 1005 is this, and 1006 is this. So now this is going to match up perfectly, because we were really careful about making sure this is mirrored over, the UVs are mirrored over just fine. And just hit Ctrl S on this, and they're now saved out. TIFF is not the ideal format to use, to be perfectly honest, but it doesn't matter, as we'll convert this to a tile.dxr file before bringing this into Modo, or in Modo we are going to convert them. So now we have all the files, all the color maps. They're named properly. The bit in a rubbish file format, that's fine. And we duplicate the eye over. So this is what I'll do a lot of times if I have UDIMs which are identical. I'll just simply not paint them, and I'll just copy them over, just brute force like this. So that's how we get our color map out of ZBrush.